We wanted to reduce our energy bill. It was getting to be pretty high, approaching $1,000 a month, between $800 and $900. And we'd heard that solar was a good way to go. We had already interviewed numerous companies over the past few years, and each company had told us we really didn't have the right exposure to make a dent in our bill. So we were convinced it just wasn't going to work. We did. We started changing out our bulbs, little bit by little bit, putting in LEDs. And that seemed to make a little bit of a difference, but nothing significant. In other words, it wasn't hundreds of dollars a month. And we weren't even sure what the difference was, because we hadn't changed out the whole house. We had only changed out a handful of bulbs. In addition to the LED bulbs, we talked to our kids and we said, let's try to turn off the lights when you're not using them. Don't leave the refrigerator open. We tried using all the suggestions that came from the utilities companies. How to reduce your bill, how to reduce your usage. And that helped a little bit, but just not enough. That's a funny story. My girlfriend and I were walking down the street in Los Altos, and we saw a new business. And I'm not even sure if we saw that it said Slingshot. I think we just saw through the window and saw people inside. And we decided we'd go in and explore and see who the new business is. And it turned out it was a solar company. We talked to the people in the office in that building, and they seemed to have a lot of information on the subject. And both of us decided we would explore that option. For me, it was one more time. For my neighbor, I don't know. But for me, it was just one more solar company, and I wasn't really convinced it was going to work. But I thought I would at least give it a chance. When they came to our home, it was a different story. I believe we had two gentlemen who came the first time. We discussed our home, the exposure, the options, and I was impressed with the educational background of the people who work for the company. I was impressed with their attitude towards their work, that their goal was to make this work. It was not just to sell a product, but it was to make it work. And if it wasn't going to work, they weren't going to be doing it. But they were pretty strong about making it work. So we thought we would give it more time, and they came back with a proposal that looked pretty good. It sounded very possible. I will add a question and answer to that. The question is, how much did they think we would be reducing our bill? And I think the amount was about 30-40%, maybe. It was better than what we had heard before. The other ones had said maybe 20% if we were lucky. And it just wasn't enough to offset the cost of the solar panels. But at 40%, 50%, 30%, going above 30%, we started thinking, well, this might just actually help out. And the people who work for Slingshot were able to give us real numbers based on our bills of what it would look like. So we could see over the seasons of the year what our bills would probably look like and how long it would take for us to recoup our money that would be invested in the solar panels. And it looked pretty good. I know that I believe we have today we have 22 panels. I don't know what size that system is, but it's 22 panels. Well, let's say that we used to spend around $800 a month, and the last two bills were, I believe, approximately $97, and the following month we used our spa, and the bill was $130, I believe. We had a lot of company that month. Down that I thought were kind of interesting. Well, one of the interesting things about Slingshot, they installed panels. They installed 21 of a particular company. I don't remember what company it was. But on their own, the company, Slingshot, came back without explaining a lot of it to us, other than to say, we're taking down those panels because we have panels we think will work better for you. And at no cost to us, Slingshot replaced the panels. From 21, we went to 22 panels, and everything worked better than before. So I thought that was pretty admirable of the company. Responsible, thoughtful, caring about the customer, not just about making their dollars. Because they could have left us alone, we wouldn't have known the difference. But they wanted to give us the best return for our money that we could get, and that was valuable to us. The other thing is that Slingshot continued to monitor our progress. They didn't just leave it and walk away. They've come back to check the equipment, to see how it's going, to see if all the panels are firing the way they should be. And I guess we're doing just great because the bills reflect that. You can tell me they've graduated all kinds of places, but it's what they've taken out of it and how they function. And when you have somebody who looks you in the eye and says, I don't know that answer, but I'll find out for you, it's worth $1 million. You now feel much more comfortable, much more secure. You're not just going to throw information out that may or may not be true to impress you. They're going to wait until they actually have numbers, something concrete, that you will say, oh, okay, so based on this information, concrete information, if we do this and this is what the sun is like, we're going to get this response. And even with that, Ravi and his partners, his employees, were conservative in their answers, so that when we got our bills, and it was astronomically less than we had anticipated, I called the company, I think it was 11 o'clock at night, to say, oh my God, this is amazing. I mean, it was that valuable to us. And we know that we will recuperate the money we've put into the solar much more quickly than we ever anticipated. Not to mention that we feel like we're decreasing our footprint. We're not going to be using up electric the way other houses our size, and it's a large home, is going to be using the resources. So I feel secure.